party animal, by the way.
What use? I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think he could like appreciate a yacht and that?
Aye.
Think so?
Mate, he used
How
to go
dare
to,
you,
he
like,
used to
how
go to
dare
mad
you, Evan?
wild parties and that. Gob shit and that.
Stephen Hawking?
Aye.
I thought he just sat and read books and that.
No, I used to go to parties and take shots and that. I was mad.
I didn't think he was that kind of guy.
Aye, mate. He's
Fuck, I've been
He's a bit
totally,
wild, mate.
totally
He patched
blind
his
to it.
wife for his assistant, know what I mean? He's a bit of a boy.
Dirty boy.
I really hope that Paul's press record on this. Because
I quite like it being like Wizard of Oz, like the curtain. I like
I know.
No, okay. That was a bit of a strange start. But I mean, I'm insulted that you think that Stephen Hawking couldn't go on boats. I mean,
No, I don't think he couldn't get on it. I'm just wondering if when he was on it, he'd be like, "Oh, this is brilliant."
you're
Or,
thinking that if he knows the secrets of the universe, he's not going to care about a yacht.
I'm thinking that his sort of learning, his sort of intellect level is beyond the materialism of look, this big boat.
Pop
You know what I mean?
bottles,
He's
mate.
like worried about atoms and shit.
mate, no one's beyond it. No one's beyond it. There's no way that he's like, I became the smartest guy in the world and didn't care about like getting birds and getting boats and that.
Aye.
Come on.
I think it must only fuel the fire for that stuff. I think.
Well, exactly. I mean, who else was he going to do? Let's be fair. I mean,
Aye.
but I mean, he did well. Every time I think about it, like I always say, there's not really that much people to look up to in that, and people will mention Stephen Hawking, and I'd be like, I can't really compare myself to Stephen Hawking.
You'd
man.
be looking down to Stephen Hawking as well because he
Aye.
was real. I think he was like he was tiny, mate. So he'd be looking up to you.
Aye.
Is he dead? He's dead, isn't he?
He died like,
R.I.P.
I think
Stephen.
he was one of the fallen brothers of 2016.
What?
Mind of us, the pure hunters of celebrities were just dying in 2017 or
dead?
something. I think he was one of the fallen homies.
Was he?
I'm
Was there
sure
a
he was.
year? Do you remember that? There was like a
Aye.
year where all the celebrities
David
just
Bowie
died.
and all
Oh,
that.
there was a lot, but I don't remember it as much as you. You must have a.
Aye, I've
memory
got
sharp.
Oh, mate, I
The
was
year-
devastated.
It was his favourite year, the year of death.
You've got the best memory for a stone of that, I know, innit? The year of 2016, man, it was rough.
Mate, do you know what I think it is? I know a lot about Stephen Hawking because I watched that. He has a mad film, didn't he? He's got a film. It's not like his film. He didn't direct it, but there's a film about him and
What's it
like him
called?
growing up.
Hawking?
I don't know, man. I think it's
It's called Hot Wheels.
Scott Wheels. I've been meaning to ask you, mate. What's the top speed?
I knew this was coming, right? But
Top speed.
see, I want to say, I like people always think, oh, it must be going dead rapid, but to be honest, I think it only goes like 7k or something like that. But see, to be fair, if it's at full speed and you see it going down a hill,
7,000 miles an hour.
the only time that it was ever actual, like, so I think NHS chairs can only like legally go a certain speed, right?
Right.
But the football chairs, that's what you want.
Oh.
Football chairs are where it's at, man.
Aye, that'd be sick.
We should actually, honestly, we should do something where we get 2 you in a football chair.
Is
man.
it?
Oh,
See,
I'd love that.
see like, has there ever been like a scandal where somebody's like putting a bit of extra juice into the chair or that, or like
A bit of nos.
a PEC, a performance enhancing chair? Has that ever happened?
Need for speed. Nos.
Well, they have like speed tests and stuff. So,
Right.
so the rule is basically you can only go, the highest speed you can go is 10k. So at the highest level, every chair goes at 10k, right? But they can actually go 15.
Right.
But you can't go 15. It's like on a basketball court size thing.
Aye.
For the side. So, 10k is like the safest, highest speed you can go.
I think you could map it, maybe. Know how like you can map motors.
Aye.
And like do a mad thing with the ECU and get it going.
Get it, Jack.
Get
They
it.
should do that in like just like Scottish Premier League and that. Just like you can only run this fast, and if you run any faster, it's a foul or something. Imagine that. That would change the game.
Would it, like,
I would be pro if that was the case.
Instead of VAR, was there like people outside, like referees with the mad speed guns?
aye.
13, get him up.
It's not a bad idea. Probably improves the quality of Aberdeen's team anyway. This
Oh my God.
Did you see that result?
Mate, Drumchapel were actual class, I know.
No,
Like,
Darvel.
Darvel, sorry. that was Elgin, wasn't it?
Drumchapel, good or no? Shout out to Drumchapel.
That was they played Elgin this following day, but mate, Darvel were dynamite. It was like some good football. Popping the ball about like prime Barca, man.
I didn't see it, but it's pretty mental. I mean,
He's got to go. He's got.
He's got to go.
got to get to fuck. Jim Goodwin, it's not looking good for
Quite
him,
like
man.
him, I know, man. Silver Fox, know what I mean?
Aye.
I like a handsome manager.
See, to be honest, see the way that they. See the way they played against Celtic in that game, where they just sat everybody back for like 9 minutes.
Aye, that's mad.
As soon as that happened, I was like, he's going to get sacked soon, man.
I know.
Didn't, you know.
Somebody made a tweet about him saying he looks like a young guy dressed up as an old guy. You know what I mean? Like for like Halloween or that. Like,
Aye.
spray your hair silver and that. It's because he's got a pure black beard, did you know?
No, it's white. It's all white.
No. He's got like he's got black facial hair, then grey hair.
Is he? Aye.
Like silver hair, aye.
He's like an older version of Lee Johnson.
Aye.
It's something like
manager.
that. Mate, I think that like see like the teams that you're saying like just sitting and all that. I think like I always think about like being a football player and it's like right, you're playing up front and like, number 9 and all that. It's like when you get to play, it's like right, all you're doing is just stopping them scoring. They're all much better than you.
How
So just
depressing must that be to be in a dressing room like that? They've got like some good players as well. Like there's a boy that plays something called Clarkson, I think his name is. He plays like behind the striker, and there's a boy Coulson at left back. He's good as well.
There's no got a guy called Duck or something. It's good,
Duke guy, they all go Duke when he's got the ball. I want Celtic to sign him just for that, mate.
Aye, Duke.
So I can shout Duke. I don't even go to the games. I would just be shouting it from my house. Duke.
I don't know how we got into Aberdeen, and this is such an up and down start to this, but I feel that people are going to be listening to it, but like, yeah, who are these people that are talking here? What's happening? So it's just, I'll give you that a wee proper introduction, right?
Okay.
So it's Evan Reilly
Woo.
and Jamie Kelly from the Very Gaff podcast. We had Evan on last year, and it's great to have Jamie on with him because as I read from the Very Gaff comments, it's pissed without Jamie.
Oh, I know, by the way.
By the way, I feel like, so, you know, the first time somebody commented that, it was Sean Ewart, shout out Sean, some boy.
It's been both times.
Was that?
He's the only person that's co-hosted it. That isn't you.
Well, he phoned me and he was like, I mean, I'm trying my best. I was like, mate, you were class.
Nah,
Don't worry about
people are just used to the way. It's never like, I mean, Lennon and McCartney, yeah. You take one of them out, you put Ringo in. It's never gonna. It's gonna be good. It's never gonna be the same, you know. But it is. It's like, but I see when I see that see when I see people commenting that, I'm like he's actual came up and do you know what I mean?
And he done a heavy good job.
Aye.
I always feel bad for that, but I think it's just people are used to. It's like there's a thing I read about a while ago. It's called like visual grammar, and it's like when you get used to something on the telly or something, it's like you get used to that visual grammar. So say like The Simpsons changed colour, he'd be like, oh, this is weird. No, I mean, I don't like that anymore. And it's like you kind of get used to things like that. So it's maybe something to do with that.
Aye.
People are just used to seeing me sitting going, aye, devil.
No, I thought it was a really good episode as well when he was doing it. He was like, because when he was in here earlier, he was like, we had them on for the first episode of the year, and he was talking about that. He was like, I seen all these comments, and it's not as good for them, and I'm like, I try to do a good shift here, and kind of
People,
I pure enjoyed that podcast you done with it too. It was really funny, man.
See, I actually kind of, I don't know where it's going. Like, see when I say things, you go between like serious answers and like serious conversation, and then all of a sudden somebody's talking about Robin Hooses, and you're like, I did not see that coming there.
It's conversational whiplash. That's what Sean and Ben get.
You never know, and Sean and Ben have the mad dead face. They just look at you and you're like, are they kidding on, or I don't actually know what's happening with it.
Exactly. Like normally I can get a vibe of where it's going, and somebody's body language. The two of them are looking at you like you can't tell whether they're happy with you or they're
they are a bit like that. Like, see, mate, there's so many times I've been in gas with them and it gets to like 7, 8 in the morning and I'm like, Sean, are you alright? And he's like, aye, fine, mate. And I'm like,
having a great night, mate.
Aye, but they've got the dead face, and I'm like, mate, you sure on that? And he's like, aye, but I always get worried. No, I don't, because I know. But the first couple of times I was like, you alright, mate?
Well, I think it's safe to assume 80% of the time Ben's annoyed at something. Because Ben's got rage bubbling under. A lot of people don't know that about him.
Right.
But I think he can go like that, man. See if you get him on a topic he doesn't like. He doesn't.
What is it he was talking about on our podcast? Like young drivers or something. Remember, he was like, they're driving too fast. They're harming. He said something like, they're harming people on the road, and they're harming kids, and most importantly, they're driving too fast. Or something. As if like that was the most important thing out of all the things.
They're killing people, but most importantly,
aye.
You know what? Like, I really respect that about them in a way because they kind of surprised me. When I first had them on, I've had them on twice now, right? When I first had them on, I was like, just from watching your podcast, and I'm thinking, these guys are just going to be pure, like, Luffy. Pure, like, but then you're talking to them and like, oh, these are actually two really smart guys.
like both very intelligent.
I mean, which is more we can say for the two of you. Do you know what I mean?
We're just a pair of idiots, mate.
Daftness on top.
You're going to bust my tyres by then. So let's talk about the two of you a bit then. Where does this bromance come from? Because the thing I was going to say about it was, every time I watch your podcast, right, see when it's just the two of you, like, I genuinely have no idea where it's going to go.
Don't believe it.
No, we genuinely don't. It actually came out of nowhere. Genuinely,
so
it came out of Sean York. Sean like messaged me one day and he was like, "Oh, what's happening?" Like, I think I posted something on my story and he was like laughing about it and he was like, "What's happening?" And I just got talking to him for like this early space of a week or something. And then he was like, one night Celtic were playing in the Champions League qualifiers and he was like, "Right, bounce up and watch it." And he was like, "Oh, Evan's coming and all." And I was like, aye, no bother. And I went up to Sean's and met you.
I'll be there in 5 minutes.
I was like, sitting outside.
I'm there.
But then you said like, "Oh, I've been offered this thing, like might do this podcast. I've been thinking about it." And I was like, because a lot of people don't know, I tried to do a podcast years ago with my pal Scoffy and my pal Mark Bradley, my wee cousin Joseph, and we were just sitting in his room. He was a producer at the start, and we were just sitting in his room. I think it was called the Wee Room Podcast. We done 2 episodes, mate. We were I think I was 18 or something, but we done 2 episodes, and I just loved like podcasting and all that. So when Evan told me that, I was like, "Mate, you need to do it. That would be fucking amazing, like pure buzzing for him and all that." And then I just went for there, didn't I?
Aye, because that night, like Jamie was like, "Mate, I fucking like." Obviously, me and Jamie sort of knew each other for years, like through people, sort of like one of the people you've got on social media and that, and if they walk by, you'd be like, "Oh, that's who that is," but you've never met or anything. And then we met that night, and I just remember Jamie being like I said, "I'm going up to see the studio like 2 days or something," and he was like, "Mate, I fucking love studios and all that." And I was like, "Well, all right, man." He's like, "I love the setups and all that." I was like, "Mate, I've not got a clue about any of this." And he's like, "Well, can I come up and see it?" Like, I think you were walking up near the studio, weren't you?
It's weird because it's in like a kind of, not a weird place, but it's in Wishaw, right? And
weird place. Sorry.
and at the time, I was doing like, it was like one of the things that I've had hundreds of mad weird jobs, and at this point, I was like fitting kitchens, but I wasn't fitting them. I was just like getting people I knew to come in and do it, and I was like fucking talking to the clients and that. So there was this one woman up at the side up Wishaw, and it was a pure pain in the arse because I didn't want to go up Wishaw all the time. But the day after that Celtic game, I said, Evan said, "It's the only thing is the studio's in Wishaw, it's a bit of a trek." And I was like, "Mate, I'm there tomorrow," and he was got to see it at like 12 o'clock. So I bounced around and seen it, and we sat and spoke for like an hour and a half or something.
Aye, we sat down like, see like how we're sitting now. We sat down at the table that we would date at, and nothing was on, but we were just sitting, just the way we ended up sitting, and we were talking. And I remember we were just talking about pure, I don't know, just stuff that we would talk about in the podcast now. And there was no plan for Jamie to be on it with me at all. He was just wanting to like, look at the mics and that. You know what I mean? And he was up, and I remember talking to him, and I remember what was good. What were you gonna say?
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say.
I see just when that, just before you go, I remember talking to him, and we were talking to each other. Now, like sometimes you're talking to somebody and they're like, they're not listening to you. They're just like, "I've got something to say. I'm just waiting on you finishing, and now I'll talk." You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. It was like I could see him like listening to what I was saying, and then taking it in, and then like replying, and I just remember thinking, this is like a podcast we're doing the new, like unintentionally. And it just kind of went for there.
Well, I think the other thing that kind of made that possible, like made it happen, was because my wee cousin had just finished at uni doing film, but he'd always done, like, he'd always produced things, edited things, like that's what he liked, and doing music things and that, sound production. And Evan's pal Joe ended up saying he might be able to do the podcast, but he got a job offer that he couldn't say no to, so he was away doing that, and he was like, "So that's the only kind of stumbling block." And I was like, "Oh, I'll say to my wee cousin if he wants to help you with it," and you were buzzing with that. And then I think when you said like, "Just date with me," or like do the first one or something, we were saying.
I think because we were like, what did we do for the first one? Like, I don't know, how do you even start your first episode? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then I remember I said to Jamie, "Look, why don't, if it's got to be my podcast, why don't I be the first guest and you sort of like interview me on it and date with me, just so I've got somebody to be on screen with for the first time." And then we done it. But it's funny talking about that first podcast because the day we went up and tried to do the first podcast, right? Like, I had never met Joe, who's his cousin. There's hundreds of Joes and Jamies. I know, like, there's too many. I'm trying to get rid of some. It's getting far too confusing.
Been accumulating Joes and Jamies for years.
There's been about 3 Joes and 2 Jamies so far. So anybody else that gets involved with the podcast, please do not be called either of those names. But first day we met, we're like, we'll go up and do this fucking podcast. Now that way I'm pure racking my brain, like, what's the best stories I can think of from my childhood and growing up and shit. And we met in Tim Hortons in Motherwell, right? We like had our laptops and all that, as if like just trying to look pure businessy. We're like, so we're in Tim Hortons and we're talking, and we're just like talking shite. I'm telling these stories. I'm going to talk about this, and blah blah blah. And we sat in there for like an hour and a half, and then we went up to the podcast studio, like, right, we'll do it now. And we sat down and we're like, oh my god, we've basically done the podcast in Tim Hortons. So now we've nothing to do. Everything we planned to talk about we had already discussed. So now we had to kid on that we didn't know the stories that were coming and be like, what about that one, mate? And like, it was so, we couldn't even do it, couldn't we? No?
I know, I don't think we did. I think we ended up getting something done, something recorded, and we said, right, we'll just take that and we'll watch it. Or I think we listened to it. Mind, we used to get Joseph to send us an audio file and be like, is this even salvageable before he starts editing and all that? And I think we listened to it and we're like, we just can't do anything with that. Do you know what I mean?
It was so, like, I wish we had it to release now that we kind of know what we're doing a bit. It would be so funny to look back on. But like, I remember, we went up and we were like so stiff, pure, so on to the next one and all that. It was so like, and I remember during it, and then we had a weed vape, right? And we're like, that, let's hit the weed vape, see what happens. And then we done that. And then right after that, we were sound.
Aye. Oh, did we do it?
I think we done that, and then we went back and tried to date, and we were like, chill, man.
Aye. But I still noticed things for the first one that like, because if you've watched the podcast, I've always get paper if I need. Like, I never read it off my phone or laptop, don't I know? No. So I've always get paper. I don't know why. I just kind of like the way it feels.
He's John McIda.
And I think I had paper, but I had written like. So like I had written the way I talk, if you know what I mean. So I'd written, right, so on to the next one and things like that, right? And when I was reading it all out, I was like reading that robotically, so it didn't make sense. So see if it said, and if I'd copy and pasted something, I would read it, but then like say it in my own words, which I kind of do now. But like, because I had wrote it exactly what I was like a script, so it was so robotic. Do you know what I mean? And even when I watched back to the first couple, I think I was kind of like that.
You'd never done anything like that, but that's how we sort of first get into it. But it's mad that I didn't even know him. I don't think you'd be able to tell that.
I think it's mad.
That's all. I thought you were going to say they would know each other for like 10 years or something.
No, mate, I met this guy fucking about 6 months ago.
Picked him up outside the co-op.
That's when you know it's meant to be, but innit?
Aye, mate, that's true.
It feels like it all kind of came together. It's like that, isn't it? Step brothers. Like, did we just become best friends?
Aye, it sort of was like that.
It was,
just
mate.
By chance. No, I can't get rid, mate, but we're here.
Hanging about that bad smell.
Well, I think it's really class because like you were saying how it's so annoying when you're talking to somebody and you can just sense that they're just waiting for you to start talking, and they don't even address anything you said. They just go,
aye, that's it, 100%, mate.
And you're like that. Why are you doing this? Like,
it's rare to find somebody that doesn't do that and all.
Aye.
It's more common than not, I think.
That's why it stuck out to me when you were actually listening to me. I was like, oh, this is the type of person you need on it with you. You can't have. I remember I worked with a guy, Winston. Well, he wasn't Winston, his name was Wally, but he looked exactly like Winston for Still Game. So everybody called him Winston, even like called himself Winston. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say he was like, get names down a bit of paper, he'd be like, Winston, like calling himself it. But that guy he just lied about everything, mate. And he would like, that way you'd come in with like a story and he'd be like, and now that way he's like waiting for you to like take a breath during it. And he's like try to start his story. You're like, mate, fuck this, man.
I think that happens a lot in like work site canteens and that, mate. It's like everybody's just waiting to say their part, their story. Do you know what I mean?
Everybody wants to tell their story, but have you ever had somebody, so like, you know how you were saying about you just lied about everything, right? I've had situations like, we've had somebody on a podcast where they're telling you stuff and you're thinking to yourself, that's not true. Like, why did you just lie in my face about that? And we're recording it, so you can't be like, why are you talking shit?
You're talking shit.
I don't think we've ever had that.
I don't think so, mate. Do you know that I've never sat and been like, oh, this person's completely lying about something. I don't know why though, because like there's probably been a few lies told to us.
Well, 100% Lee Sutherland.
Oh, Lee Sutherland, aye. That's
Lee Sutherland lies for an hour and a half when he's on a podcast.
But that's what you want for Lee Sutherland. If Lee Sutherland told the truth, it would all be gone.
Aye, well, and that's the thing as well. Like, seeing a podcast like yours, like, doesn't it all need to be accurate?
Aye.
It's going to be exaggerated a bit because it's like the stories and the part of it all. But like, see when you're trying to deal with it, if you're having like a serious conversation with somebody, and it's like they're talking about, because when I started doing this, it was like, you know, the main focus of it was like mental health and destigmatizing disability and stuff like that. Even though I make disability jokes all the time, but that's kind of the point of it, you know what I mean?
Aye.
And so like I started off really seriously. Like, my first podcast was me just talking for like 40 minutes about my life and why I was doing it, and getting deep, as we said, you know, not deep fried, but deep personal information. And so you get kind of like, for lack of a better way of putting it, mental health gurus on your podcast and people that kind of are like, you know, talking about positive things. So then they'll come on, and before recording, like, there were so many times where I've talked to somebody and we'll just spend half an hour like 10 other people apart, but like, this person's a dick and they're full of shit and all that, and you're like, that, okay, I thought you were like a nice person. Like,
Aye,
that is weird.
That's scary, man. I wonder if my therapist will be bad mouthing me. You know what I
no,
mean?
it's like you start recording it and then they're like, oh, it's important that you are considering people's feelings and that. And you're
Mate,
like,
that's actually quite funny, actually.
See, to be fair though, he never done anything bad, but see, when we met the property boss, he was so much more intense than I thought.
Aye.
Like just because, but it's obviously on TikTok, but like when he's recording, he's like, oh, hi, and I just expected this like really like gentle, like, and he was quite like intense, but it wasn't anything bad, but he was just so much more follow. Like, that's the only time where I've met somebody that I've been like, oh my god, that I didn't expected you to be a bit different than that.
Mate, do you know what I've kind of noticed about when we meet people, no necessarily property boss, but a wee bit, I feel like people, when they meet me and Evan, they think we're mad like mad lads.
Aye.
Like all the time, but we're heavy no like that. And like when we met the property boss, it was just like coming in and he's just like, go easy on me boys and all that, but I think he was trying to get ahead of it by being like being more like out there,
as if
I mean?
like match now that mad alpha pure, I'll come in the room and be fucking like, and I don't know, but we're no like that. Me, LSD, low sex drive, me and him, so you know what I mean, we're very calm people. It might not seem like it, but we're no like pure lad.
Aye. I mean, to be fair, I kind of thought that at first as well, before I knew who you were, right? Because it was like, see, when you both were like, we both got like long-term girlfriends, and I was like, really? I thought you was be at the clubs and that till like 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, mate, I couldn't think anything worse than being in my club.
Jamie doesn't even like get it.
No, I don't, mate.
It's just because of the energy he's bringing to it.
Aye.
It's like, it's dead positive and like, it's like just full of funny things, and it's like the kind of people, the kind of party you'd hear like a Gaff at 5 o'clock in the morning.
See, we save it all. Like, see if I went out all weekend, I wouldn't have any part for the podcast, mate. So I need to charge up, know what I mean?
Well, it's a much healthier way than that.
Sit in the house and eat bananas all weekend and then have a good podcast.
No, it's funny, mate. See, I just remembered something. See, now you're saying like, is anybody sat in front of you and just you've been like, they're just lying?
Aye.
No, in a podcast, but mind the guy I was talking about, Winston. I remember he came into work one day, right, and he used to always talk about shagging, and he used to get Viagra, right, but he would be like, we'd be driving about in the van or whatever, and he'd be like, right, I'm going to pop in and get my Viagra, doctor's a pure fanny. Like, he would be like, he would be saying to me, I don't need them, he gives me them for fuck, I just kid on, I need them and that, but he definitely needed them, right? And then he came into work one day and he was like that. I said something like, has anybody genuinely ever thought you were Winston for Still Game and like you've went, mate? And he says, aye, I was doing in Newcastle, working away at the digs at the hotel and that. I'm doing it at the bar and these 5 lasses came up to me, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, you Winston for Still Game? You
5 lasses.
5 of them, right? So, you Winston for Still Game? Giggling and that. I'm like, aye, I'm Winston, aye. They're sitting on my knee, you know, 2 of them, 1 on each knee and that. I'm just sitting with them on. He ended up shagging the 5 of them that night. I was like, I looked at him and I was like, no, that way I didn't even reply. I just looked at him and I was like, you've got 10 seconds or something to go, I'm only kidding on, obviously. And he just looked right at me and I was like, oh,
but he's looking at you thinking I'm getting away with this.
I've got this. I don't think I've got it in me to be like, you're talking shit.
Mate, the thing, I don't understand why he thinks that Winston's a sex object.
Exactly. As if that would be the pure, oh my God, guess who I shagged?
Bobby the barman.
Winston for still gay.
No, that's exactly. I was thinking like, what bud's gonna see Winston and be like, what a shout out.
Winston. Yeah, he actually looks so much like Winston. Right
No.
I know. Oh man, I don't even.
Sorry, threw you off track there.
It was like, it's so bizarre when people go like, because I have all sorts of mad stories about being in a wheelchair, right? And sometimes I don't like saying them because I'm thinking nobody's going to believe that, but it's like just bizarre. But then you can pure tell with somebody, especially if it's something like that. I shagged five, but you shagged 5 birds, mate. Like,
and the one goal,
in Newcastle.
What would you even be doing, mate? What I mean, like, what would you actually? What would? I don't even want to do
Spinning plates.
do you know a really good bit of patter? You go up to somebody, well, see if you come back with me, mate. You need this wheelchair more than me.
Oh, I like that, mate. I like that.
That's a good bit of
I
patter.
might start using that. I'm like, what? What wheelchair? I'm like,
See you later.
I'm on the phone to you like, I thought that fucking worked, man.
I'm about to say something here, and then people are going to question it right away because of what nightclub I mentioned, right? But you go to the Savoy, right? You go to the Savoy in a manual wheelchair, and you use that, and you.
Aye.
Oh, what, mate? Tell you, mate, because people are just like, because and I know Savoy's not got the best rep, the best rep for being a great night out in that. But the thing is, right, is it's the only nightclub I've been to that doesn't have any stairs. Everyone has to use a lift. I mean, it's like a gold mine in my hand.
Oh.
This is the place to be. You know what I mean?
I've got a gold mine.
I've never been in the Savoy, and I've heard that it's got a very sticky floor.
Aye, sticky flares.
Is that true? Have you ever?
Mate, well, you can see that, but see the thing is, see when you've got wheels, it doesn't even fucking matter. It's like
You just slosh right
It
through.
lubricates them.
like, don't get me wrong, it's completely disgusting, right? It's completely like you can meet somebody's bud and meet a granny the same night. It's like that kind of place.
Aye.
But see the amount of places like Firewater and all that just I can't get in Firewater. People are always like, you come in at night. I'm like, no.
The stairs in Firewater are murder. Stairs are fucking. There's like 3 different fucking flights of the bastards.
Exactly.
I fell down them multiple times.
You fell down them?
Aye.
Well,
as a young laddie.
How could that's so mad to me because you know how many stairs I've been up and not been able to walk down, but not fell down them, and you can walk. You know,
I honestly don't deserve these fucking legs, man. I fall all the time. I'm the clumsiest bastard in the world.
We need to figure out a swap deal here, man.
One each.
Because the thing is, like, you being able to give you more part of your podcast anyway, so we need to like.
Aye.
Like,
maybe we can do. Maybe I'll have it on weekends. You can have my legs on weekends.
It's heavy for the podcast.
Aye, we should do a thing where like.
I GoFundMe and that.
You should host this. You host all that ability one week in this chair. And just be like dressed up as like Stephen Hawking or something.
Just
dressed up as you, mate.
I'm Kieran Burns.
Can you grow a beard, but?
Hardly, man. We'll talk about that the other day. My beard game's weak, bro. I think I could. Nah. I don't think I can get that glorious.
I want a beard, Kieran, but do you know what I struggle with, mate? When it grows in, I struggle with lining it. I line it and I go, that's uneven. And then I line it again and go, that's uneven. And then I do it again, mate, and I go, that's far too low. I need to shave all this off.
What, the tap bit?
I just like I don't know where to cut it. Know what I mean?
Mate.
You get any tips?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be completely honest with this. This is a good chance for me. This is what I was talking about people lying about things, right?
Yeah.
Because part of me wants to go, I know exactly how to do this and that, right? But honestly, mate, I've had a beard for quite a long time now, and I only ever get it trimmed or whatever when I go to the barbers, mate.
Mate, is that what I'm doing wrong, Jen? Because you just wait?
You just like, see you get a beard, you just need to keep shaving it, and every time that you shave it will grow in more and more. People think they need to let it grow, but the more you shave it, the more it'll grow. Like I used to.
But when that's like a never-ending circle. If you're just shaving it forever trying to get a beard, that's an oxymoron to me. What happened for me, right, is I kept growing in, right, and I would have all these patchy bits. Aye.
So like I'd have like there was a point when I just had a goatee for ages because I thought that was the coolest thing.
I like that. I think you should get that back.
I was just pure like Heisenberg. I want to be. And then I've got a wee story about that actually. I was thinking about telling that. I'm not sure if I should, but so I had a situation where it was all patchy at the side, and I was like, this isn't working. Like I don't want to be the guy that's like, do you know that guy that's got like, he's like, oh, I've got a beard, and you see it, and it's just wee hairs popping.
Wee wispy bits.
And you're like, mate, that's not. You look like a cat. It's not a fucking beard.
Got the face pubes. Man.
Exactly.
Like a cat, look at it.
And then I can't remember what I told me that shit, but somebody was like, if you keep shaving it. Oh, mate, what am I saying? I don't know what I told me this. I have like 4 brothers, right? And we all kind of look quite similar.
Right.
But the oldest one has like the same sort of beard as me, but he had the same sort of problem. So then I shaved it for a couple of months, and then one day I started to like go back in, and I just noticed it was like actually working. I'm like, yes,
A
we've done
miracle,
it.
bro.
We've done it. And it's not really the miracle I was hoping for, if you know what I mean, but I'll take it.
Go take any miracle you can get, mate.
Exactly. One day you just, I've always thought, see if I woke up one day and could just walk, like all of a sudden, able to just walk about.
Miraculous.
I wouldn't tell anyone, mate. I wouldn't tell a soul. And then, like, I would imagine this scenario where like, I go on holiday or something and don't tell anyone. So, like, I'm in Spain somewhere, right? I'm just walking about, like, living my life, and then not knowing this, like, somebody from my family or that is went on holiday this same area, and they just see me, and it's like, they look at me and they go,
lying bastard.
Oh my God.
No, mate, what if it ever does miraculously happen, what you need to do is wait until you're sitting watching the football and you're sitting like that, and the referee does a bad decision, and you go, fuck's sake! Like that. And it's like that decision was that bad that
Mate, I've seen it
that.
so many times at the football, but see at the Celtic games, there's so many people, like, because if you can't get a ticket for a big game, they'll be like, you can get a wheelchair ticket, but you can't go in the wheelchair section without being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times where people will just stand up and you're like, hold on a minute here. You don't know what I mean here.
Mate, I thought you were going to say you've seen people like, mate, can I get your wheelchair for the night so I can get into the game?
Mate, well, I mean, not quite exactly, but there has been times where like my pals have been like, I've not been going to the game and got a season ticket because I'm a big, beautiful Finney. But sorry to all the Rangers fans, hopefully they
listen,
like
you just divided your audience in half.
You know, at the end of the day, Michael Beale seems alright as well, you know what I mean?
Aye, he's a great guy.
Just a great guy. That mole game.
Oh, you fucked that game.
Oh, I can't even. I try to be impartial, but I just cannot do it.
It's all right, mate.
Fair
It's your
play.
podcast.
Exactly. Fuck them. Don't worry, I'll get out of the voice or something at some point. It'll be a buzz.
That'd be good.
I've no idea where I was. This conversation is
your
ADHD,
pal,
it's
you've
not
got
The
a
done.
pal's
ticket.
asking for like, you've got a season ticket and you'll not go to the
Aye.
game.
So he was like, they'll say to me like, do you think I'd get away with it if I just went in like a manual chair and just give a ticket? Like, would they ask questions? I'm like, I don't think they'll ask questions, mate. But
That you?
They can't really.
I don't think it's morally correct for you to do that.
Aye.
I mean, but one of the benefits as well is see when you go out like to a pub or that, like or a club or something, everybody gets checked, and I never get checked.
Do you know?
Nothing, mate. Like they always look and check people's bags. Never check mine.
Get a wee idea for you next festival that comes up.
Like people are burying bucket like in fields and that. Like, you don't need to do that with me. Just stick it in a bag. It's great.
Mate, I keep seeing videos on my TikTok, and it's of this guy who he can stand in that, right? But he goes up to like public toilets and like puts a wee magnetic disabled sign on it, and then sits in a wheelchair and waits for the person that's in the toilet to come out. And he's like, he's like an Australian guy, and he's like, oh, that's fine. We all like the extra leg room and all that. My people are like, I'm so sorry and all that. I didn't see that. Have you seen them?
Mate, I love making people feel guilty as fuck when they come out of the toilet.
Do you?
I just look at them. I'm like, come on now. Toilet's right there.
What about parking in disabled spaces? That
Mate, see, the thing is, right, is
He's sweating.
well, I've done it.
I want to, I like, okay, so see, being in a wheelchair your whole life, you have to fight for a lot of things. And at a certain point, you're just like, I can't even be arsed talk about this anymore, because like, see, if you're going to park in a disabled parking space, right, Evan, I'm wanting you, but no, like, I mean, it is wrong because it's like people do need it, but like I'll give you an example where it actually did really piss me off. Right, is that I was in the gym, like I'm always in the gym. You see me?
Solid.
Solid. Just always skipping leg day. I had to get that on the podcast. But I'm doing a workout and I'm doing my usual thing, and this guy, I see this guy is like the fittest guy in the gym. Like he's been in the gym before I came in, and I'm already in for like a half. He's been in, just just all sorts of cardio and all sorts of weights and all that. Just looks like a machine, right? And he comes up to me and he fist bumps me and he's like, what's happening? Like, you're really smashed it and all like that. Cheers, man. And as I'm coming out, this guy that was in the gym for hours, mate, and he comes out and he walks and he's parked next to me.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, mate, what are you doing?
The audacity of giving you a fist bump and all, mate.
I mean, I get, like certain situations, like if you're in a rush and you need to park, you know what I mean? I don't know your situation. If you're going to talk to me in the gym and make a point of talking to me in the gym and then not even think about the fact that you're parked in the same parking spot.
That you could have been deprived of.
Mate, it's just like,
where does it end though? Like with like now they say like now there's mad adverts about like like no all disabilities are like physical or visual or that. Like what if I'm just like I'm dyslexic? Can I park here? Does that when do people go, no, you can't? Is it today with like a physical disability?
Well, I'll tell you something now, man. I genuinely believe that anytime that you see somebody that's not disabled, anything that you see somebody parking a disabled parking spot, you just what you actually really want to see to justify that in your minds is they open the door and they just fall at the car.
Need to be in that one. Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's like dragging themselves. Like,
you look at that, Mo. Fair dues, mate. That guy needs that.
You know, I shouldn't have parked next to that guy.
But like, if there's any sort of mobility, they're like, do you really? I mean, the thing is, the way that I would quantify it is if they have a badge. Do you have a badge?
Well, mate,
I never even thought about that.
I know somebody that's got a badge because they've got gout.
What?
Actually, mate, I work with a guy that had gout, mate.
Is it serious,
Don't laugh, honestly. I work with Big Al who had a bit of gout.
Yeah, I think you've got that gout.
Mate, and he had a serious limp on him, man. Gout's the king's disease or something it is.
Is that aye?
Because it's like like kings and that used to get it because they ate so much red meat.
Rich food, aye.
And it used to clog up the old
feet.
Whatever that is.
Clog up the old tits.
Clog their tits right up, man.
It's mad that used to be like a sign of power if you were just happy with fat.
Aye, that's mad, that shit, mate. I want to go back to the times.
It's weird how like society's done a like 180 on that. Like I was even listening to somebody on is like a guy who's like an economic strategist. He is, right? Which I was planning on doing before the podcast.
Obviously.
Aye, and he was talking about how in China they have like a real problem with obesity, the same way sort of America do, because they've went from being like a really poor country to being like nearly top of the food chain in such a short time that see like eating lots and having lots of food and like that's seen as like a symbol of like power or wealth or status. In China, like having lots of food and eating a lot, so they've got so many like overweight people now because of that. Because they've got that mindset that
I can't picture a fat Chinese person in my head.
Oh, mate, they're there. Vietnam, mate.
Aye. Large.
I'm talking large Chinese men and women.
Large humans.
In
the Far East.
Aye.
It doesn't make sense in my head that. See, if I think of a Chinese person, I think of a svelte young person.
Do you know why that is? But right, see, like I noticed when I was in Vietnam, there was very rarely any fat people anywhere, right? And I think it was because their diet is so much made up of like veg and like soup and like there's no really like now the way we wake up and go, let's fry that, stick them in the microwave, fucking bit of toast. Like they don't have that in their diet. They wake up and have like soup. Do you know what I mean? So
2 litre bottle of juice, snap for your breakfast. That's the worst one. See, when I see people having that, 2 litre bottle of like iron brew.
Aye.
And I'll let half 8 in the van.
Oh,
right up there, mate.
Can't do it, man.
Turns my stomach.
Man, because I've actually been doing this thing for January, but all I've been drinking is water.
Nah, it's good, right,
man.
Like just I've not even been eating. I was going to say that I've not even been eating and just drinking water.
Mate, cooking water, mate.
Mate, wait till you hear this. I was going to tell you about this today. I watched a video today about this guy, right, who was like really obese, right? I don't know how obese, but really obese. And he went to the doctors. He went to a Scottish doctors, I think it was England, and he said, I want to give up food. Like, what can I do for that? I want to give up food, right? The doctors prescribed him with like different vitamins, potassium and that, prescribed him all this stuff. He didn't eat any food for 385 days.
What?
And he just drank black tea, fizzy water and something else.
What's he look like now?
Mate, and the weight dropped right off him.
Aye, flooded off.
Mate, do you know what he had for his first meal back? But like, what would you like? No, I mean, what would you have for your first meal back after 385?
Salt chili chicken.
Salt chili chicken and a piece, a pure ridiculous meal. He had a boiled egg.
Oh, I wouldn't even have that if I was starving to death, mate. I hate boiled eggs, man.
I forgot about this.
Don't talk to me about boiled eggs, mate.
It was soldiers and that. Boiled egg and soldiers.
Aye, as long as you'll get a bit of runniness in the yolk, I'm alright. But if you're drying that bitch up.
Do you know about his hatred of boiled eggs?
Oh mate, don't talk to me. There was a guy that started my work every day, used to come in with the pot of 2 boiled eggs.
Just get a bit of spinach in it.
2 freezing boiled eggs, yolk, honestly, dry as anything, and he'd just eat them like, oh. Mate,
does it remind you too much of your blood then?
Aye.
which is weird, mate. That lined up too well there, but that was a fast show to me. Ed's going to listen to that and be like, that's how it order.
Oh, she won't listen, don't worry. She doesn't watch it.
But no, so, I mean, boiled eggs, you can have worse things than that, surely, no?
I mean...
It's up there, though.
Gonorrhea.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad one.
I do have to say though, imagine having a year off food and then that was the first thing that you eat. Like,
I'm starving, man.
Pure chew every day, just like, I can't wait for this boiled egg, man.
Would you think he pre-planned it? I think it was one of the things that he was like sitting in his grands or something and he was like, no what, I'm no doing another day. What have you got sitting about here? And she just made a boiled egg and just grabbed it, shell on it,
right out the water?
Aye, what an ecky.
But I'd first of all, see when I said it, but that joke about not just drinking water, I did not think that story was going to come together. Well, how do you fight this stuff, man?
Mate, just aye, that's the perks of having mental illness, man. Your brain just bangs off different things.
Well, let's have a wee therapy session. Dr. Keaton Burns here.
Aye, doctor, put the coat on.
What's the? Do you know what I should do? I should make that assignment. Like, see, I wish I had like a coat or something to put.
Aye, that'd be good.
Right?
Just clickbait everything, man.
Aye. Jamie's got gonorrhea? Question mark.
And he loves eating boiled eggs. So I mean, mental illness. What's up with you, Jay?
No, nothing. I'm actually cool, but I have got a very overactive brain, so it's kind of like if I hear I've drank water for the past week, I think that guy who didn't eat anything for 385 days. How it kind of goes, and it's got also because I'm kind of like always on my phone, like always watching videos and that. And I think it's today we're like having the podcast, and because we've obviously got a offshoot of our podcast called Deep Fried, my algorithms on everything are deep fried, you know what I mean? It's just hundreds of mad random videos for like different things today with fucking different scientific discoveries to like just weird things in history and all that. So it's like I just save all them, and whenever it comes up in conversation that somebody's not drank water, something pops into my head.
So is that like your long way of saying ADHD?
Aye. You've probably seen it come out a wee bit there.
You're a doctor.
Wait,
that's what the doc does, mate.
Kieran Burns MD.
Get a wee prescription helper.
Diagnosed in a story, like, no, I think that's actually brilliant for a podcast, but when you think about it,
mate, it's a superpower, man, when it comes to podcasting, because I don't think I could do it with it, man, because I've another thing, I'm a wee bit like, I don't know if I want to say, like, I'm pure, like, I'm not like socially awkward or anything, but I mean, like, see in a podcast setting, I feel more comfortable talking actual nonsense, do you know what I mean?
I think because, like, in every day, like, see if we had, the thing is with me and you, like, the conversation we have in the podcast is what we would teach each other about before it starts and this and this. But, like, there's people who, if you start, like, that thing about the water, like, there's people you would tell, even, like, people you work with, that they'd be like, what? Why are you telling me this? Do you know what I mean? They just don't like mad weird stuff like that. So I think when you're on a podcast, you're like, now's the time for all this stuff.
That's weird
but
shit.
I'm meant to be telling all this.
Do you not think that that's like one of the really good things about podcasts, right, is like how often do you actually get to sit and talk to somebody for like an hour or two?
Oh, mate.
Really?
I said something to Evan, like, I don't know when it was maybe like 6 months ago or something. I said, like, it's mad that, as we said at the start, we've not known each other for that long, but it's mad because I feel like I've known him forever now, because I feel like if once a week you have a 2-hour conversation with somebody, that's more than I would talk to my best pal of the past 25 years, know what I mean? Like, there's people that I've known for, as I say, 20 years, and I know Evan more than them in the past year, odd. know what I mean?
You get to like know each other pure, like, especially because like a lot of podcasts is like, mind you were a wee guy and this would happen and this would happen, and then like the last podcast we done, I was talking about like the school bus, and he was like, what? Like, are you talking about just like the 57 or something? And I was like, no, we had this bus that came and picked us up in our area, then took us to school, and he was pure, what the fuck, mate? Is that not only like America? So even through shit like that, you learn mad things about each other's life so much quicker than if we didn't have a podcast.
There's a development on the school bus and all. There's one for All Saints.
What do you just know?
I didn't know about it, mate. I got like fucking about 20 DMs. Like, I used to get the bus from Milton. The bus stopped in Springburn and all that, mate. So I'm sorry, mate. I shamed you in that pod for no reason.
No, but I mean, like, so in that short space of time that you started the podcast and kind of got to know each other, were there things that kind of over the course of time you were like, I didn't, like, you learn about each other and you were like, that was a bit surprising, I didn't see that coming?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
think what I've learned.
I think what you see is what you get with young Evan. I think, no, mate, know what? Genuinely, right? I think when I first met you, I was like, didn't expect you to be into all the mad shit I'm into.
I think I think that's like similar with both is in a way.
Because I thought like, because there's only probably outside of Evan, there's probably only like one of my pals that I would talk about all this mad shit with. And I was like, but Evan's not like that. I thought you were more like, I don't know, just kind of chilled out, no really. Aye, all that stuff, know what I mean? So I was a bit surprised at that. Were you the same with me?
I think so. It was like, I don't know. Because it's weird for us, right? Because it's like, I don't know, no, that's probably a lot of shite, but I was going to say, like, see, because we started off in basically on a blank slate, if you will. See, when we'll like learn each other, and there's nothing surprising because there was nothing to like judge it against, if that makes sense. Whereas I bet, like, see if I'd done it with one of my pals that I went to school with or something, I'd probably be like, I didn't know that about you and that, because I would assume that I knew everything about them already. But it was hard to kind of be like, that's weird. I don't know. But probably there's all the deep fried shit, and like, I didn't expect you to be into like drawing.
I like
he
drawing.
said this guy's a
like drawing things. Did you not actually expect that? No,
you just don't expect that. No,
a bit
very common in
see,
people.
Apparently
so, like, they have a bit of an artist side to them.
Oh, is it, mate? I go through like a notepad a week, man. I fucking love drawing shit.
Like see our merch, he drew every design for that, like actual drew it, and then that's how it got printed.
Just thinking here, I'm going to definitely give you a prescription, right? I'll hit you up. Just need to get my.
You're going to get struck after in these podcasts, mate.
I'm like, no, but like, see, I think that's a really good point though, because like if you do it with somebody that you know, there's like, you didn't have it until so like there's no like, see if you started with one of your pals, right, one of your close pals, and you talk to them a certain way, and then on a podcast they just bring out a whole different personality. You're like, we've been pals for like years. That's weird.
Like,
well, mate, that when I was talking about that I did with my two pals and Joseph, that was kind of like that. Like when we were on the podcast, see, because there's no like, it was like there was no structure to it or that, obviously, and it was like everybody was just trying to get their part in. Know what I mean? So it was kind of like I got annoyed at them in that, but like we couldn't be annoyed at each other at the start because it's like, what are you talking about, mate? I'm just being myself. You know what I mean?
Stop doing that shit, David.
Who do you think won in a fight?
Me.
I'm much bigger, mate.
I'm a lot taller.
Mate, we've actually fought together.
Mate, so we have.
We've been in a fight together.
We've been actually in a fight, mate.
Outside the Toby Judge. Swear to God.
Mate, Evan can go for it, by the way.
Please do elaborate on this.
Right, mate. We were, I'm not going to go into pure detail, right? But we were out for something and like, we were out with a few of our pals and like our buds and that. And a mad cunt was just like, he just said something, right? And he was a mad, like, fucking horrible looking junkie cunt, right? And he was like, shouted something. And I was like, what? And he was like, what? And I was just like, oh, Morgan. And like went to walk with Morgan across the road, mate. And I just felt like I had a crack in the back of the head. I just fell, hit my head off the ground, turned round, and there was another punch coming and that. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then when I just kind of go like, fucking back up and could see stuff, I could just see Evan pure laying into guns. I was like, what is actually happening here?
We need to get used into like ICW or something. Tag team.
Oh, mate, that'd be good, by the way.
Mate, when we had Mark Dallas on, he was like, mate, like, you should come down and train and that and fucking at the asylum and shit.
I drove by that all day.
Honestly, that's the thing about see if you do that, I want to be the manager.
That'd be good.
I want to be like the Paul Heyman or something.
The evil manager, mate, the evil manager, mate, the wheelchair would add so much to that as well. Like the evil, like you're just pulling strings mentally, like pure, like getting paying people off and all
we
that.
need to get you the white lab coat for that and all, but like the doctors.
Because
the doctor manager.
The dirty doctor, Kieran Burns.
The dirty doc.
Dallas, this is getting sick to you, mate. This is getting sick to
That's
him,
it, mate.
What would we be called? But we couldn't be called Reilly's Gaff.
No.
That would be so gay. Reilly's Gaff.
Autistic twins.
Aye, something like that. What could it be?
I would say we are more like. Do you have ADHD?
Aye. Aye. Are we not? Are we
He's gonna be like,
mate, I think you can turn it on and off, but because sometimes I'm talking to you and it's like, anyway, I was talking about that, and then by the way, I was thinking about this the other day, but I think you're just you think about a lot of shit, and then it all comes out at once. I think that's what it is, as opposed to just constantly fucking.
What do you think?
Flying off the wall?
Well, I think last time I had you on, actually, you had mentioned that you thought you had that. Because you were talking about like lockdown, how you kind of got into this routine where you enjoyed the kind of walks and stuff like that. You had a good rhythm going to it, and you were trying to get. At the time, I actually remember you were kind of like talking about how you were getting a bit stressed out with how busy everything got from being in the lockdown situation, and then podcast kind of take off and all that. So, but I think that he made a good assessment. Like you seem to have it under control. Like you know when to like turn it on and turn it off, and I think the podcast helps with that. In a weird sort of way.
See is like a form of therapy. Podcast, excellent, man.
Right? Like
it really is. You just get in and just speak your mind for a fucking couple of hours, and if you want things cut out because you've swore. Oh, Evan's often racist.
Half of our podcast is racial rants by me, mate. And then we get out and I go,
the dirty Slovakians.
No, it was something to do with the I was talking about.
Mate, we went on a mad rant about Latvia.
I know. I said that. No, I went to. There's a place called Level X at the top of St. Neots Centre, which is like bowling, fucking crazy golf, fucking like VR. You can do everything in it, and we went in it baked, and no, me and Jamie, me and Erin, and we went in it and couldn't we pure got overwhelmed by it because the guy at the door gave us a band, right? And he was pure reeking of BO, mate, and I'm pretty sure he was Latvian, right? Just by that, the sort of eyebrow structure. So he gave me a band, and he was just kind of like, this is a band. And then I don't remember anything else, mate. And then I remember we walked away, and I was like, what do we do with this? And looking like pure side-eyeing all the mad machines and that to see like if there was like, put your band here and shit, and they're just whizzing. So we went and sat down, got a drink, and we're like, I just go home. So we never done one thing, we just went home. But that Latvian guy with the body odour, I hope he's sacked.
Oh man, I honestly listening to one of your stories, I'm like, where is this going here? No idea, like, but mate, honestly, usually at this point in the podcast, I've got a good idea of the flow, but I take it and I'm like, fuck knows to the two of these guys, man.
What's the last thing you asked about Jamie's mental illness?
Aye, about mental illness. So
well, okay, we can go into what all about the listeners will know as the deep version of the podcast,
right, okay.
Not necessarily the deep fried version, but you know, this is the
serious part.
What we're known for, right? Because it's a good time. Because I think if we don't go into some sort of emotional blackmail, we could get cancelled for that conversation. Just
Aye, let's do that, right?
Exactly. So
I've suffered a lot.
Exactly. What's your worst traumatic experience, Evan?
My worst traumatic experience. I came in the other day and there was a guy buzzing gas on my clothes. That was pretty traumatic. I actually phoned the police, had him removed. But personally, traumatic experiences. Try to think. I mean, I suffered with my mental health when I was younger, like high school age, because I remember like I would be in like 4th and 5th year just taking buckets all the time, mate. Just bucket. That's all we done when we were wee guys, just like for 4th year to like end of 5th year or something, whatever. Third year? No, was I that hardcore? don't know.
Still on the joint.
But I remember, like, I don't know if that was the start of me pure being able to, but like thinking about things so much. Because see, when you're that age, you're obviously going through puberty, you've got all these hormones and shit. It's like, see that whole cocktail that's inside you mixed with doing buckets all the time, it's not a good combination. Like, fair dues when your brain's developed and you're older and you're like, right, you're like 20 and you want to smoke a joint, like whatever, like fair dues. But see, when you're that age in school and all the shit you're going through and that, see, smoking green all the time, it's so bad for you, man.
Yeah, actually, you know, I really want to talk about this a wee bit because it's a really good point you made there. And I remember one of the ways that I kind of found out about your podcast was like some of you guys were saying to me like, oh, it's a stoner podcast. Because it's just like, because they thought you were just pure baked the whole time because of the conversations, right? But
it's a fair assumption.
and we'll go into that in a more funny way shortly. But see the way that you just said that, though, like it's really interesting because there's a lot of people, a lot of really young, like from like 16, like that kind of age we're talking about, that are just smoking all sorts of green every single day. With it even, it's not even like a thought. It's like this is what we do all the time. And during like lockdown and that, I kind of unintentionally met a lot of them. Like, so we would go, because I remember when I had you on, one of them sent me like a Snapchat or something. It's just them. They were all sitting watching it. And I'm like, no way, man. But like, so because I would go a lot of wheels in the park. You know what I mean? You know, I had to get in this
that lockdown wheel around.
I do some wheelies and that. Have a good time in that. And then you know, there was so many times when I went to that park actually, and it was just me, and I thought, this is great. Nobody's here. Like, I could just do this forever. It's brilliant.
It sounds class.
But then it's like it was like I seen that with a movie. And all of a sudden, like we guys started coming at the forest trees.
I feel like that is a movie. Like we guys coming out of the. What is that?
They just start stealing things for you.
I'm thinking a bit like the Warriors, like when they all come out. But sorry,
I get that.
I know. No, but like that actually did happen. Where like I kept kind of bumping into these guys, and it was just like. It didn't occur to me how much like they just do it all the time every day, and I kind of witnessed like I'd meet a lot of them and they were all pure. They all seemed like all right people individually, but as a group it was like just like mental. So then I kind of unintentionally started to try and talk to them about it and talk to them about things and try and help them like get out of the this is something I've never spoken about this on the podcast, so this is a bit strange, but I try to help them get out of the kind of pattern they were in with it, and I don't know if I necessarily succeeded, but we'd talk about things and they would tell me things about how they just can't, it's like they just can't go off it at all. And there was like one guy who was like 15 and I'm like, fucking hell, man. Like,
it's rife, man.
It was like it was just kind of a surreal thing where they all didn't really want. It was like because when if you smoke green, you should enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it was like they were just doing it because they were just so used to it.
To feel normal, like people like that's the stage you get to. You get to a stage where you feel like the whole point it is, but like I feel like it's something that you should do. And when you do it, it should be like a thing. Do you know what I mean?
It should be like to spark something and a wee bit of, if you're wanting to be creative or have a laugh or something. But it should be elevate you.
But when you need it to just feel, oh thank fuck, then that's because I remember being a wee guy and like you're obviously your brain hasn't developed yet, and then you're starting to like. I remember what really fucked me up, mate, was watching the movie Fight Club for the first time, being like 15, 16, pure baked to my nut, being like this. And these are the first times that I had even took in sort of things about like materialism and the
just
fact
reflected.
that and it really fucked my brain up. And I started being really. And Fight Club's an amazing movie, but I just remember that period, the headspace I was in, and it makes you very erratic. It makes you very. Reactionary and like no paranoid, but it makes you very like no sensitive things, but you overthink situations. And I remember even up till like maybe before the end of that year there, I remember like maybe October, November, like say I was smoking it, say I was smoking a joint a day, I just could feel myself going. It was like I was like, see when I don't smoke it, it's like I'm out here and I'm like witnessing this room. See when I'm smoking it all the time, I just feel like I'm further back in my head, witnessing things happening. Like I would think about things and be like, instead of you saying something to me and me laughing about it, I would be like, it's like it would go through an extra security check in my brain and going, is this funny? What do you like about this? What are you going to reply to this? And it's like over-analysing everything. And then you start realising yourself going, oh fuck it, I can't be asked to go there, pure hundreds of people there and that, blah blah blah, and you're like, oh, this is starting to give me a bit of anxiety about going places, but because your body's craving it, you start convincing yourself, no, it's not that, you're just fucking this, no, it's not that, smoke a joint and chill out and this, and I'm not saying never smoke it, I'm not saying if you smoke it every day and you feel completely fine, everybody reacts differently with it in their brain. Some people, Paul Black was on the podcast telling us like he smoked like a joint or took an edible, and he fucking freaked out and he'll never touch it again sort of thing, which that happens with people. But I think people when they're smoking it need to be honest with themselves about what it's actually doing to you, like with the volume that you're smoking it at.
It's so easy to lie yourself and all. So if, as I was saying earlier on, like if I'm ever smoking a wee bit too much through the week or something, like my bird will be like, yeah, you alright, kind of thing. So I think, but if she wasn't there, I'd be like, you can convince yourself more, like, it's cool.
It's the same thing with like people that are like, you look at people that are addicted to alcohol, like, do you think every day they wake up going, know what I'm going to do today, fucking get steaming? But throughout the day, they're at work and they're fucking, can't wait to get home to get a drink, and then they'll be like, no, I'm not drinking, and then they get there and they're like, oh fuck it, like one drink, I didn't drink yesterday. Do you know what I mean? It's, you make all these wee handshakes with yourself in your brain, like, no, because you went to the gym yesterday so you can get steaming the night. No, you make these deals to feed that habit.
Mate, it's so many interesting points to me there, because it's like that thing you said about how your mind kind of, it's almost like you're not in control of it. Nothing's in your control, and I know this is going to sound a bit crazy, but for lack of a better way of putting it, the voices in your head are like, just everything's loud and you're like, what is happening here? And I was watching this podcast with that Dr. Huberman, because I'm trying to learn more about being a doctor, obviously. And I take this stuff seriously. And he was talking about loads of things, like, it's really interesting guy. Like, I should check him out, man.
Andrew Huberman. I listened to him, mate. He's really good, talking about like staring at the sun and that when you wake up. I've tried to do that, by the way. Impossible, man. Like, he's obviously, he doesn't mean staring directly in it, but like I see him working that, I'll be like taking something outside and I'm like, get my Huberman in, you know what I mean? I'll be like staring at it, but I'm alright, man.
That's some witchcraft. That's not a doctor, mate.
It's something to do with like, so the cells, every cell in your body has its own type, like clock almost, right? And see, in the morning, if you wake up and stare at the sun for like, I think it's like 5 to 10 minutes, like you need to stare at it directly, like as in no through a window or sunglasses. What it does is it tells every cell in your body that it's daytime now, and it resets your body clock so that when you get to 10, 11 at night, you feel tired.
That's mad. I might get out of bash. Sit under a sunbed.
You remember that spot? And that's exactly what he said. I think it's hard to do it when you're in Scotland enough, but like, I know. His point is like, even if you can't get the sun, just getting outside is good. But because we're all kind of mentally ill here, like kind of sidetracked to the topic. I'm not kidding. I'm probably got like ADHD maybe a wee bit as well. Not for, I don't know that for sure, but I remember there was a period where I seen like, I had like 3 different kind of semi relationships, I guess, 3 different lasses, not at the same time, obviously, because I'm who the fuck has the time for that? Right, but it turned out that they all had ADHD, and I would be able to talk to them like for ages, and then they will be like, "Do you have it?" And I'd be like, "No," but and they were like, "You definitely do, because we've been talking for like 2 hours, and you've been talking."
And you're no blinked.
And I'm like, maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, again, sidetracked, but. Well, so Andrew Huberman, right? He was talking about how, you know, and people like below the age of 20, basically, late teens or whatever, you know, young people smoking a lot of green and that. It's like, it's a big part of the reason for homelessness. and for like because what happened is their mind is so not your mind is not developed, and it's like it becomes at this state of hallucinating almost, and you're just constantly like.
He said it brings on like schizophrenia almost.
Yeah. And I was listening to this and I was like, aye, that seems like it would be accurate right enough. And I think like that's kind of why I wanted to touch on that a bit more, because see with the platform you've got as well, like the thing, you know, you mentioned alcohol, right? I think the biggest difference or the biggest issue when it comes to this is that most of the issues with alcohol are free to discuss, or like all out there, because we're still illegal. And it's like it's became this thing where, and like you say, right, everybody reacts different to it, and it's not, by no means does it have to be a bad thing. Like it's a lot of people get a lot of benefit out of it, and there's been a big fight for legalization across the world, so I'm not against that. But what we're saying is like there's this thing where it's very much became like a mainstream popular thing, like Snoop Dogg and all that, and all the big rappers, all the big rappers just get stoned all the time. So like people that like kind of look at it and go, that's cool, like that's the thing today.
It's all right
I
today.
think
That
you were saying about the legalization. I think that would make it more safe though. Like that would make it. You wouldn't be going out and try to buy an ounce and try to be like trippy red or something. You'd be like going to a mad clinic and being like, oh, I'm wanting a wee bit of this for. You know what I mean?
Aye.
So that might actually be better.
I know what you mean as well, but with the narrative, like even like people, even like Joe Rogan and that, it's like he backs it 100% and shit, and it's like I'll back it in terms of like I don't think it's as bad as alcohol, but the way I look at it is people, even alcohol's worse, but if I say to you, here, I drink every night, mate, you'd be like, well, do you know what I mean? But if I said to you, I have a wee joint before my bed every night, you'd be like, all right, fair dues. Do you know what I mean? It's such a, we don't really get the attention for how much it can affect your brain. It's just, see, because as you're saying, it's portrayed as just, oh, you smoke it and you're sounding this, and oh, you're munchied and you have a laugh and watch a movie and that. It's almost been portrayed or marketed as this, oh, there's fucking nothing wrong with it at all. But I think if everybody's honest with themselves, you can if you smoke it enough, you can definitely feel it, you know, your memory. Like there's times maybe I'm in work and I'll need to write down a number and it's only like 5 numbers long, and I'll look at it and then I'll go and then I'll look at it again and I'll be like, it was that, and then I'll get to it and I don't feel sure again. I'm like, nah, that's it, that's not right. You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like see when it comes to like green, that's like for me anyway, that's like gone down a level, because like a few years ago I was heavy bad on like worse things, like I was pure bad for gear and all that. So like the new, because because you know I'm not a mad stoner really, so it's like the new, it's just like kind of new-ish, even though when I was like 14 and that, I was obviously out with my pals smoking hash and all that, but like because it was like literally 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I was like pure bad for, like I would sniff gear in the house myself and all that. So it's like that was when I was like, this is fucking me up, this needs to stop, you know what I mean? So the new for me personally, it's like it's a better option.
Aye,
you know
definitely.
But
it's a better option.
but as I say,
100%.
that's like so that's why, like, if I ever talk about it, or if I'm ever asked about it, right, and I'm like, it's sound that it should be everywhere. Not, I mean, everybody should be, because it's helped me a lot. Know what I mean?
But the thing is with you as well, like I don't know how it works with like ADHD or whatever, but like I might be like, my level might be here and you might be here, and like it puts me here, but that takes you down to like what I'm at normally and shit. Do you know what I mean? It could be like a.
I mean, it slows shit down as well though, like, because like see if I'm sitting watching like a film or something, see if I'm baked, it's like the best film ever, because I pure see every detail and all that. But see if I'm no, it's like sitting like that, I'm just like looking at the window and all that, and it's just like I can't like be as content with it. But as I say, that's probably a bad thing, I know.
It's like you don't want like a reliance on
which that's obviously bad. But if and the old adage, anything in moderation, boys.
That's what I'm saying, because like I just want to make it clear, because obviously people might be watching us going, they're actual baked in like most of their podcasts, right? So it might sound a bit hypocritical, and as well with me making videos about being out my nut and for eckies or whatever, but it's like we're just trying to make, well, for me in the videos, I'm just trying to make humour of the situations that I've been in my life, and like take the funny side of it. It's not to say there's no a cocaine problem, there's no a whatever problem. It's just to say like, aye, there's a problem, but there's also a funny side to all this, the antics that happen. And as well with the green, it's like, if you smoke every day and you feel fine, then that's fine. It's just like, I think a lot of us can do it and lie to ourselves about it. Oh, it fucking doesn't have a negative effect on me and that. Aye.
And that's where the mainstream perception of it helps with that, because I think like you end up in a thing where like it affects your mind that way, where you'll say these things where you go, I'm not so sure if this is having a good effect on me or not, and then the other side of your head will go, it's fine, it's just this. But then like you say, like listen, gear is just as much, if not much more worse of a problem in terms of in Scotland. And like if it's a choice between the two, definitely
definitely the gear.
Pick the plant. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like, it must be like a really difficult thing to have actually weaned off that when you start doing it yourself in the house and that. So first of all, fair play to you for doing that, because it must have been a fucking mission.
No, mate, it's not as bad as that sounds, to be fair. It's just no what it was. See, during lockdown and that. Sorry if you're listening to this, Mum and Dad. I was up in my room today. No, but like all my pals would be on playing FIFA and COD and that, right? And my pal that used to punt to us all, like used to sell gear to us all, right? He used to have lockdown deals on. So like during lockdown, we'd be all on Zoom doing quizzes, and then it'd be like, 2 seconds, he's at the door, and you'd go to the door and they'd have a few gram of gear for you.
You doing quizzes for a gear?
Aye, mate. And playing like COD and FIFA, doing quizzes, just sitting with my pals, boozing and taking gear on Zoom, mate.
A quiz on gear sounds bad.
A quiz on Zoom was, mate, that was insane.
I bet you would be better taking gear than a quiz, to be honest.
Probably, mate.
The thoughts snap.
Aye, but they were all rang.
Ah, right.
Liza Minnelli. No, she wasn't the third president.
I look much more sure of the answer.
No, I wasn't expecting that story to come out of that. No, but it's like, exactly. So, what was the point I was trying to get to there, right? Is that, like you say, anything can be overdone, right? And we're not trying to say that it's a like bad thing, because it's not, you know. But I think you just realise that like nothing's black and white, like nothing's one way or the other. Everything in life is a wee bit grey. There's a wee bit true, mate, and you don't want to be ignorant to that. But the biggest thing for me is the age, because you're talking about like stories like taking buckets when you're like 14 and that's it's great that you're here now able to tell those stories. But what I sort of realised was there's wee guys that don't get out of that.
Aye.
Right? And you're like, and you just think, and haven't actually been able to meet a few of them, you were like, do you want this to be your life forever? So it's like, I think people with like our platforms should be trying to, because a lot of young people listen to your podcast and enjoy our part in that. So it's like, letting them know that, like, you know, smoking green all the time every day is not necessarily the best thing to do, man.
I think it's probably quite damaging to be like, if there's like 10 wee guys when you were growing up, there's 10 wee guys that all get baked all the time, right? Like, say like 6 of them grow up and they're like sound. It's quite damaging for them to be like, there's nothing up with me. Know what I mean? I done that when I was a wee guy, and there's nothing up with that, and that's what you should be doing. Because then there's 4 wee guys that have fucking like fell beneath it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that is probably something that we should think about. Maybe.
It's true, but because you don't hear about the people that don't make it through that.
No, they just stay in their house all day and get baked all day and don't go anywhere, and that happens. I know people that it's happened to. Like, they try green, they like it, they just get deeper and deeper and deeper into it, and they have that much anxiety about going out the house and
turned into paranoia.
Aye.
Because it's like, see, the thing as well, one thing that I became really aware of is like, see if you're carrying something for your past or things that have like bothered you. Like for me, for ages, like I was really not comfortable with being in a wheelchair. It took me a while to kind of get to be as funny and handsome as I am. But like, see, like just like the way I didn't see it as a positive thing, and there was a lot of like things with how I thought people seen me, and I didn't look at it. I didn't have a good perception of it all, and so there was a lot of negative things kind of buried inside me that I wasn't really that aware of, but you're able to just kind of drain your way through it, like, because it's life, and you don't have time to sit and think about your deepest, darkest insecurities and thoughts and that. And then a pandemic hits, and the whole world shuts down,
and then you do have time.
Exactly, right? But And it's good to see when you're able to actually process it and think about it and go, right, this negative thought isn't the actual real. Your thoughts and your actual reality are not like the same thing. You know what I mean?
Aye, definitely. Mate, the best thing I've ever heard about that, like worrying about life and that, is like, I don't know, it's quite a famous video, but Erin tagged me in it the other day. I hadn't seen it in ages. It's like this guy's giving a talk and he's standing in front of his class and he's got a glass of water and it's like a full glass of water and he holds it up and he's like, right, how heavy do you think this glass of water is? And they're like, it's in America, so they're like 4 ounces, 10 ounces, and he's like, what weight do you think this would need to be for it to like start hurting my arm and that? And they're like, oh, blah blah blah. They're giving these guesses, and then he says, it doesn't matter about the weight of this glass. If I hold it for 5 minutes, it won't hurt. If I hold it for an hour, my arm will start aching. If I hold it for 5 hours, my arm will be completely dead. So it's not about the weight of it. It's about putting the glass down. And that's like a metaphor for like your problems in life. Like if you keep thinking about them and you're holding that glass all day, it's just going to wear on you. But see if you just put the glass down and then you're like, right, I'm going to just, instead of trying to solve all my problems, I'll just put it down there and just no think about it. Because they're always going to be there. You're always going to need to sort shit out, but you don't need to think about it for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. That's how you start getting weighed down.
That I've been fucking... Should we applaud that?
It wasn't me that did it, but...
No, just the way that you delivered that was spot on. It's like, and it's like, I think it's really important to... I mean, that's only something that I've only applied recently to my life, is the idea that you don't have to let your thoughts eat away at you all the time. You're able to, once you understand how your brain works and that not everything is, something you need to take on board. Do you know what I mean? And you're able to realise that and just get on with your day to day. But these thoughts are like eating people alive. And that's why I was mentioning specifically green in that scenario, because I think it makes you feel everything.
Aye, that's so true,
you know
mate.
what I mean? Everything that you're not wanting to think about. If you get all sorts of shit buried at the back of your head and you smoke a joint,
mate, the best thing in the world for it, man. Like I've like no recently, but maybe about that time that we were in a fight, I've like kind of stopped drinking. Like I don't really go to my pals. I wouldn't just go to the pub and like watch the scores and all that anymore, because like I was going through mad shit in my head that was making, like, I was just making bad decisions all the time, right? For ages, for a good period, like since before lockdown and that, just because of boozing and taking gear and that. And a thing that's pure helped me was like psychedelics. That's like perfect for that. See if like you've got shit in the back of your head that's, as we say, like weighing you down, eating away at you. See if you take mushrooms, like they're called, like they show you, they put it in front of you. And there was a thing that I seen that made me want to start doing them more regularly. Was like it was this study from New Zealand where they're treating people with depression and like and another thing, they're treating people with mushrooms anyway. And the doctor said, if you imagine your brain is like a bed of snow that you're like, see your different synapses, like where they kind of go to your memories, to how you feel and that. Pretend that's like somebody's walking out its footprints, and then it gets on muddy and it gets messy. Well, wheel marks, and then it becomes not even a bed of snow anymore. See if you take mushrooms, that's like a new snow blanket getting laid. That's like it's snowing again, and it just making everything feel clean.
That's why this shit needs to be, all of this stuff needs to be legal, and like actually like have trials and places that you can
prescribe people.
Exactly. Figure out what is good for, what it's not good for, and how it can help somebody.
Certain amounts in that, because there's times that I've took fucking too many tabs of acid and no had a good time. Do you know what I mean? But like, if you've got this,
that's why I'm in a wheelchair, mate.
Is it
too much acid?
It's not, you can't. He just like forgot how to. Yeah.
I was like, one day I was fine, and then you just have a bad night and you wake up and you're like, I can't do this. It's like, forgot to put one foot in front of the other. Not even the same again, as the saying goes. No, I mean, I think that was, didn't the actual, what I loved about that is I had no intention of going into that sort of thing, but it's like really good because it's just not something that you've, like, there's a lot of things in our culture in Scotland that just happen that nobody really talks about. like for all the podcasts that talk about mental health and all these things, right? None of them are actually talking about actual issues on the ground of what's happening with people. True. You know, and it's like we've all been there and came through it to an extent to be here having this conversation. And there's just so many people that are still like, that'll probably listen to that whole conversation and be like, the way they'd be like, I felt that exact thing. Or they've been like, I'm struggling with this, and that's actually been helpful hearing that conversation. So I think that was really good. But I wanted to ask you, so we'll go into some specific Reilly Gaff conversation here, right? Because I've got the two hosts on it. But before I get completely away from the doctor, see in terms of like the way that you two talk to each other and the laugh that you have, like I go to this gym, right?
Right. Is it this prick that's part in that spot again?
But actually,
back to this disabled spot.
Ooh, I didn't tell you the end of the story. The end of that story was I burst his tires. And so, but no, and then he stole my wheelchair, and I was just lying on the ground for the rest of it. But no, it's like I go to this gym called Everyday Athlete, right? And I've been going there for years, and all these guys that run it are all pals, right? But every time that I've went in, I've never once seen any of the coaches, just none of them give off a bad vibe ever.
Right.
Like, and you know that they've had bad days and that, and there's days you come in and they've had a bad day, but they just have this uplifting thing about them, and you're like, this is a great place to be.
Aye.
Right. So when I watch like your podcast, it's like the same sort of thing. Like the two of you do podcasts regularly, and it's like you've got a situation where you don't even really need it, I guess, at this point, because you could just, people will just listen to two of you talk about sorts of stuff. But like, is there ever a time where you're like, right, so obviously people are listening to this now, and we're enjoying doing it, and you want to deliver every time you come in, but it's like, you ever had a day where like one of you come in and you're just like, I've had a pure shite day today, like I'm not up for this, and like somebody else is having to carry it a wee bit, and like just help each other that way.
Jamie carries it up. I kind of think with you, there's been times.
I've had bad days.
But that's the thing. Like he's never like one. I've never once said to him, or he's never once said to me when we get in there, like, yeah, I've had a fucking shite day, like blah blah blah. Like, and I don't even think it's a case of like no wanting to bring the mood down, or like I feel like once we go through, like I've been on the phone to Erin, driving to the podcast, arguing, not even necessarily like hateful, but like moaning about something to each other, or just know a good vibe, and then had to get out the car right into the studio. So, but I feel like when even if we feel shite going into the studio, see once we're in before we set up and that for like 2-3 minutes, it's like putting that glass of water down, baby. You just, I don't know.
It's kind of like, because I feel like it's, because as you say, I've had heavy, like awful days. And even driving up, I've been like, I can't be arsed in a podcast tonight. And then as soon as I walk in, it's just like, because I feel like it might be, because on the podcast, it's kind of meant to be that when you're watching or listening, you're escaping for all the mad shit that's going on, because the full world's fucked now, you know what I mean? So like, it's meant to be like a wee form of escapism, so it's probably just subconsciously just that for us. As soon as we get in, even as you say, if you've been pure raging, just like, what's happening, mate, you're right, and you just get to it, mate, it's good. So it's a fun time.
No, it's good to hear that. I feel like, because I just thought I would see if there I don't know, the off-camera side of the two of you.
The human side of it.
We're the exact same, really, off-camera. Just less smiling and that, probably. Less, like, trying to... I don't know, mate. I honestly don't feel like I act any different. No, you've probably seen before.
But that's why... I think that's why it's good. Like, because you can tell when somebody's full of shit. Like, you watch a podcast and you're like... Somebody's like... I like to go back to the start here, and you know what I mean?
The cliches.
Mate, how I'm not going to ask for names, right? How many guests would you say you've had on that you're like, oh, you're full of shit?
All just your piss.
Because nobody will ever know if you just give me a number of how many.
Unless it's all of them.
There was...
I've got 2 in the new.
I'm thinking definitely 2 off the top of my head.
There's like a couple of guys who've Ben and Sean now. But no, I think most of them, to be fair, were kind of in the early days. Like I've done 7. I think this might actually be the 80th episode that comes out.
80th?
It's either 80 or something. I hope it's 80.
That'd be good.
Right. But
come back in for the ton.
You're more than welcome, man. But no, it's like, so I've managed to do a few. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, part of me always thinks if I just kind of, there's been a lot of like learning curves with it, like in terms of just because see how like I was talking about my sort of how I see myself in the chair and stuff like that. The last sort of few years has been a long process of me sort of bit by bit, like going through something, but then discovering something new about why I felt this way and coming at the other end and being like, right, okay, so I can deal with that now. And then you think you've dealt with it, and then something else comes up. And then by the end, by the start of 2023, I was like, I think I might have this now. I think I might have discovered every sort of dark layer in my head, which is exciting because you start going, I might actually be able to be consistent with this. Let's try and get Evan and Jamie on because people will watch that and I can get more audience.
Mate, I feel like like talk about just 2023. I feel like no like specifically this week or anything, but for a good period, I'm probably happier than I ever have been in my full life. Genuinely, I don't know if that is because I mainly would be because of the podcast and like things, how things are in the house and all that, and just everything's just class in it.
Aye, because we've obviously we started the podcast with Joe as our editor, Jamie's cousin, and then it was kind of getting a bit much for him in terms of like he was at college, and he was trying to like, it sounds daft, but he was like trying to pass his driving test, and the amount of work that he had to do on our podcast, it was just driving him insane, you know what I mean? So he ended up saying to us, look, I don't think I can really do this anymore. And then luckily we had Jamie who works at G4, and we need to give Jamie a massive shout out because he's like, it's weird because I feel like towards the end of last year, all the stuff that was going on with Joe, there was nothing bad. It was just like a case of like, I mean, we started this at three, me, Joe and Jamie. It was, even though Joe wasn't really on camera, it was like always felt like us three. So it was like when he left, it was like, what the fuck are we actually going to do here? Like it just felt like it got rocked apart. Like we were like, we might actually not be able to do this and stuff. Like, and it wasn't even in terms of like actually having gone in the studio and setting up. It was more a case of like I couldn't imagine doing it without Joe. But then Jamie's came on board, and Jamie was in our Patreon. He loved the podcast. He knew everything about it. And
he's the same as like Hank's the same way. He's into all the weird shit and that.
And I think he's a lot to do with like how we feel a lot better about the podcast this year in terms of like towards the end of last year, obviously dealing with the problems with Joe, it felt like we were just trying to get to the finish line almost with that year. But now like we've got Jamie on board and that, and he's so into helping it and adding things to it, and even like with the TikToks, like the way he edits our TikToks, it's been massive for us. And so I think he's a lot to do with how much better we feel mentally about the podcast. Don't feel as stressed about it. We're more excited about it.
Aye, more just like kind of business as usual. Get up and talk shit.
Aye.
The rest of the pieces will fall in place, hopefully.
That's it.
No, that's class. Like, I'm very happy to hear he's in a good place, and just listening to that there was pure buzzing for you, man. I'm like, Jamie Kelly, man.
Thank you, brother. I love that.
Positive vibes, man. It's like all about ability, positive vibes with Reilly's Gaff.
Aye, that's it, mate.
But no, like, I kind of sidestepped your question unintentionally when you said how many people.
I didn't even notice that.
That was a master stroke for him, mate. I didn't even notice that.
Okay.
That's how he does it, bro.
This is what you call somebody that is, a master at his game.
Politician, doctor.
You're the special one,
like, bro. I've been called special for a lot. You know what I mean? So it's not the first time I've heard that.
Tactician.
But no, look, what I'll say is this, right? It's just that you get better at realising that it was a good thing. I think it was a really good thing when I had people on and I was thinking, this person's full of it, because it makes you realise that the more genuine you are, the more people are actually going to be into it. Because like every time that I've fallen off and been back to doing it, I'm thinking, nobody's going to want to, like, I've fell away for this too many times. But as long as you're honest about it and talk about it and are real about it all the time, then people come back.
Because like you can't just be come if you're not feeling a certain way, you can't be up churning things out. No, I mean, I think people understand that if they like you and they like the podcast, they'll understand.
Exactly.
What's
and
happening.
I'm also, it's good to look at me, you know.
And as well, mate, it's like, obviously, ideally, you would be up here every week, smashing a podcast, guest, new guest, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the ideal scenario. But the fact that, like, you step away from it and you'll maybe write, say you tweet, like, last 2 weeks haven't been good for me, I'm trying to get myself back positive and stuff, and then maybe you'll do a video like the podcast is back, I'm going to try and make it consistent. That like humanizes you and it makes you like relatable to people. Like people are like, oh fuck, because even when we started the podcast, we're doing one a week, and then like see after like I don't know how many weeks you're like, fuck me, this is it doesn't seem a lot. See if you just stick a podcast on and you're like, oh, who's Joe Rogan got on, or some scientist, I'll listen to that, and you listen to it and then you're like, oh, imagine you could just sit and do that for a living, just talk to somebody. But then see when you actually do it, you realise like it's a big weight in your brain, like to turn up every week, produce something. There's weeks that Jamie's not well, I'm not well, Jamie's on holiday, I'm not well, Jamie's on holiday again.
Oh, you're not well as well.
I am not well. No, but it's hard, and it makes you, when you start doing it makes you appreciate how the people that are consistent, you're like, fuck man, that's...
Do you remember when we started, you were like, aye, so the podcast's going to be like either monthly or every 2 weeks? And I was like, no. We need to do it
not every week, mate.
We need to do it weekly and that. I was like, that's how we're going to do it weekly and we're going to smash it and all that. But I don't think, we don't regret that at all, do we, really?
No.
Like, because we have kept it up.
I mean, weekly is the way you want to do it. I mean, it's just a case of, like, I actually remember specifically feeling like when I first recorded a podcast, it was because of the fact, like, so I had this, I won't go into the big backstory about the, because basically I was on this course, this football course, it was called the Football for All Leadership Programme, and you had to write this project idea for what you wanted to do, and my actual project that I wrote was like, try to professionalise disability sport, and talk about the issues of disabled people in a more in-depth way, and try to help, just like, because I felt so alienated as a wee guy, just like, there was nothing to relate to it, and people just didn't get it, and you didn't know how to talk about it. You didn't know how to make a conversation about it, and you kind of feel lost in that sense. So I think as I got older and I got past that, I was like, right, how can I make sure that the other wee guy in the wheelchair doesn't feel like that? Do you know what I mean? So
is there things set up now for that too?
Well, I mean, that is kind of a complicated question, because basically, so I went into this course, and then someday I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and then somebody says to me, why don't you do a podcast? And I remember being like terrified of the idea of speaking in a microphone. Like, there was a point in school where I just didn't want anyone to be like, you just want to blend at the crowd.
Aye, just no attention paid to you.
But you can't be, when you're in a wheelchair, it's impossible. Like, see if you, I always say to people, like, see if you see somebody, like if you see somebody that go walking down the streets and want a joint, everybody's always like, where's that coming from? I can't tell where that's coming from. But if you see me walking down the streets and want a joint, you're like, that kind of wheelchair.
You're right.
That's actually so, I've never thought of that before.
Aye. So it's exactly, so that everybody at all times can see exactly what you're doing, and it's like you just feel the eyes on you all the time. So I was just trying my best to not be seen in any possible way, right? But it was like,
so start a podcast.
So start smoking joints.
Well, that was what it was. That was kind of the idea. But basically, because I was trying so hard to do that, I developed this big social anxiety.
Oh, did you?
And I remember there was a point where, like, you know how whenever you had to go in front of the class and all that. Any presentation up until past college, man, I would get up in front of a crowd for even if it didn't matter how long or whatever it was, just any time, and I would just totally, like, completely, like, it felt like I was having a heart attack every single time, mate. It was like the most
physical.
It was just like the worst feeling, because I was like waiting for people just to laugh at me or something. It was like there was some sort of mental trauma trigger there.
When that's not the reality, obviously.
It took me a while to kind of deal with that, but I remember the whole reason why eventually, because we made this plan for me to start this, and I didn't start it for like another 4 months, and they were like, what's happening with this program you're going to do, this podcast you're going to do, what's happening with it? And one day something happened years ago. It was a situation that just brought all my feelings like pure to light a wee bit. And at the time I thought, but obviously I'm telling you, it took a few years to get there. But there was just it was just one night of like feeling everything at once, and I was like, whoa. Didn't realise I was talking to myself with this. Didn't realise it was this negative. And so I thought, I'm going to start this because I want to talk about this so that other people don't feel like this.
That's amazing, man.
That's cathartic, that, isn't it? If it's all coming at once, it's like you're expelling it all.
It was the most overwhelming thing, but it was necessary. And I remember, but like, so that from the first time that I started doing it, I hadn't necessarily dealt with all those things. I just became aware of them, and then I was like, I'm going to start this to help other people. So the whole time I was trying to help other people, and then your things started coming back up, and you're dealing with them. And I remember, like, after I had Cypheria on, like, it was it kind of, I mean, you get him on, you're going to get all sorts of views regardless of what you talk about, man. Guy could fart in a box and get 20,000 views. So it was like, it was one of the situations where, like,
I mean, that would get much more than 20,000 views. So very farting in a box, mate. You're hitting a million.
Talking 6 figures at least. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. But like that was like the point where people were like, I kept getting messages, man, like, if you keep it going for you, man, it's going to blow up, man. Because and I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it.
You weren't ready for it to be like that.
Aye. So then that whole I think we always beat ourselves up. I mean, how old are the two of you?
25.
26. I'm 26, right? And it's like, how many 26-year-olds do you hear on podcasts that have got the whole life together? Do you know what I mean?
No.
So,
I don't think anybody that's. I think that's the whole thing with it. It's like you've got to accept that you're never going to figure it out, and once you accept that, it doesn't feel as much a weight to try and figure everything out. You know what I mean?
For sure, but I think that's for people our age struggle with the idea of like not like feeling like they should know exactly what's going on with themselves.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's just been like a long process to sort of figure out that kind of stuff, and there's been peaks and flows to it. But I think the biggest thing for me at the start of this year was like realizing, like, right, I've done well, I've came back, and then I fell away and done that 3 or 4 times now. So then it's a case of like, I think, you know how you were saying how things are like really good for you now, and you know, really enjoying it. Like there's this like peaceful place you get when you come with that. And there was certain points last year where I was like in a really peaceful place and happy, and the podcast was doing really well because I was doing really well.
Aye, it reflected that.
Exactly. And then something will happen. Something happens just left field that you just didn't see coming, and you're like, I don't know how to emotionally deal with this at all. And then you get a podcast next week, and you're like,
I know that game.
Can we cry for a bit? I need to cry for like 25 minutes first, mate, before we talk about this.
Cuddle?
Exactly. Listen, mate, I love cuddles, so anyone
same, mate. They save the world.
We should get out of cuddle after this point.
I hate that.
He does, mate. I cuddle him all the time and get the tenses up and just waits for it to finish.
Or that cuddling, not. I'm just into riding, mate. Any cuddles, mate.
We need to get Ed on to clarify that as his statement.
She's busy.
She doesn't talk, did I tell you that?
I've never ever talked seriously about myself ever. I don't know. Really? Like, even on a podcast for like how 100 episodes or something, never ever like said like, oh.
Well, that's a good thing. Like, it's good that people see there's like more sides to it, and also the fact that like I don't want you to come on and it'd be like an episode of Reilly's Gaff on all that.
It needs to be an all about ability
because it's like that's it shouldn't work that way, because I can't do what you just can do it as well as you can do it. Do you know what I mean? You can't be as good a doctor as I am. It just doesn't, you know.
I know, I've enjoyed it, mate.
But no, I'm forgetting where I was, but what I'll say is this: we're talking about the new year. All I'm trying to say is I realise that a lot of things can throw you off that you don't expect, right? And it's just it's a matter of saying to yourself, well, look, I said to myself right before the bells went, I was like, see, regardless of how you feel or whatever happens this year, you need to accept the fact that regardless of how you're feeling, if you feel amazing, if you don't feel amazing, bad things are going to happen. Things are going to change. Like, everything changes.
It's how you prepare yourself for the minute.
Exactly. So it was just a matter of being like, right, I'm actually focused and preparing myself for the fact that I can't predict what the next day is going to hold. So I just need to keep taking it one day at a time and keep churning out the best I can do. So that's, basically all about what was here to fucking smash it, man.
Aye, I can feel it.
I'm going to take over this whole thing. James Inglis is sweating, man.
I can feel it, bro.
You're doing it.
But Reilly's Gaff, 2023, what's this year looking for the two of you then?
Yachts.
Yachts and millies.
Cigars.
Nah, I don't. We just keep growing, man. Just keep. The main thing that we genuinely struggle with, right? And I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's because we're in Scotland or I don't know what it is like, we want, if you think you would be a good guest, tell us. Like you've told us that's in the works. It's like a case of, we struggle to find, it's not like we're struggling to find people, but it's like, because in Scotland you're sort of limited to the people who are here and it's not a big country, whereas in America they've got guests flying in and that. So that's the one thing we struggle with. So we would like to get a lot of new guests on that haven't been on before. That would be good.
I think as well, like doing more like creatively, just doing more like different shit as well.
Aye.
And maybe like we obviously say like oh, we're going to like vlog this and vlog that and that, but like I would like us to do more like we mini like I don't really know how to explain it. No documentaries, but
Sketches.
like we things that we go to like mad events and like what.
Aye, because we had a plan, right? We had a plan to, and I don't know if it's going to happen now because I don't know where Lee Sutherland even is at the moment, right? But we had a plan to, we had Lee Sutherland on the podcast and we said to him, mate, like, what did you want to be when you were like 10? Right? I was just trying to get in his mind, see what this man's all about. And he said, wanted to be a HGV driver, right? Driving big fucking lorries and trucks and that. And I was like, all right, sound. And then Jamie was like, there's a mad thing called Truck Fest. So it's like all the mad truckers meet up in like Edinburgh and go to that and like show each other, and they've all got mad fancy lights and everything. Like we would love to like go to things like that and just walk about and like interview people. Like, what you love about trucks so much? And see, like we really like Channel 5, Andrew Callahan. Like we love that sort of style of like, no, just going to like famous. I always think the best people are like just real people. Know somebody that's done like, know the most famous person who's got the most followers. Like the best people are always the real people.
And Scotland's full of them.
Aye.
Like Scotland's full of eccentric people, like everywhere. Not I mean, I've got pals who are actual wild, and it's like
They're just.
It's not getting like shown as much. I think.
So we want to like uncover that, and it's like we're going to do a thing. We had an episode called Scheme Olympics, which was like, wasn't schemes, it was like towns and whatever. It was like Paisley and East Kilbride, Cambuslang, and we ranked we ranked them all for like, I think it was healthiest to no healthy at all or something like that. But we ranked them all, but no. When we done it, we realised like Paisley, I was like, no, I'll get it down the bottom. And I realised I've probably been to Paisley like twice, right? So I can't really rank it. So our plan is to do a wee not a series, but like we'll do an episode in each place and just walk about and like try and talk to people about Paisley and like go and eat somewhere and like, and then get a ranking after that. So that's coming this year. We're going to go to like Paisley, East Kilbride, Cambuslang, and then do like a series and release that. So we want to do more stuff that's no even just a podcast, just us out and about doing stuff.
I've started as well. I recently got a gaming PC and I fucking love playing games. So I bought all the stuff for like filming myself and fucking and like playing games and having it down the bottom and that, all the software for it and all that. And I tried it once. It was heavy hard. Like it was so difficult. Even just playing the game, it's not a natural thing to be sitting talking to yourself, obviously. So I do want to get into doing that kind of stuff more. I want to get Evan to be doing more stuff that'll mainly be for Patreon. Patreon.com/Reilly Jamie. And I do more things like that, just like pure hunters of different content as opposed to just like us doing the podcast all the time.
I think that really suits it to you. Like that, when I think about Reilly's Gaff, I think that's exactly where it should go, because it will just keep growing, and I think you have done so fucking well at it, man.
Thanks,
like
man.
Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you very
It's
much,
amazing,
bro.
and it's going to just keep getting bigger and bigger. I've got some interesting guests coming. One particular you might know of, right? Kaz Milligan's coming on.
Oh yes.
Any advice on how to be a doctor for Kaz Milligan? Because fuck those, man.
Oh, mate,
Many have tried.
He'll break you down.
Is that actually how he is? But I mean,
100%.
right,
100%. Mate.
But also he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I think he's no daft.
No, he's not. He's like he's very smart in terms of like, using. See, like you're talking about, like a situation comes at you. How can I get the best out of this? That's what he's really good at. But who he is in like what you see in the videos and that. It's like, I would say like if he's volume 10 in his videos, he's like 8. So there's really
no
difference really. So
Slightly
you'll enjoy having
exaggerated.
Kaz on. You'll no need to ask much. He'll just
Well, I appreciate the link up also.
no worries.
We get some good guys coming. So anyone that's came in for the two of you, please stay tuned in. We're going to have podcasts every Tuesday, as long as possible. And I just want to, thank the two of you for coming on. And there's just something I feel kind of, why I brought this up, but there's also, I wasn't sure whether I mentioned this or not, but part of me feels like it'd be wrong to go this whole conversation and not mention this, right? It's a bit of a kind of personal thing for me. So we were talking about the Power Football earlier, and I've been playing it from like day one, and there was a guy that was in my team for like 10 years, and he had muscular dystrophy, Duchenne's, and he passed away quite suddenly. A couple of weeks ago, I was at his funeral yesterday, and I guess I just wanted to say that I'm trying to figure out the best way to talk about this. He was a really good football player, but his name was Ben Hetherington, and I just wanted to say that it makes me want to continue talking about stuff like this and keeping the sport alive, because it keeps his memory alive. And I'm not really capable of going too much into it right now, but I just wanted to mention him here because it was a really nice end for him yesterday, and I think that sport is such an amazing sport, and the more I can keep it in the public eye and keep memories like his alive. He won all the trophies. He was in my team for years. It was a pain in my arse because he was so good, but yeah, it's just like we would disagree on things, and then he was going to go, and I'd be like, well, fair dues, can't really argue with that, So he was a relentless winner, but also just we had so many fun nights out and so many good times. And I always thought to myself, I think one of the main things I want to say for this is I always thought to myself that we had a couple of fallings out at times, and during the pandemic kind of fell away from each other a wee bit. And I always remember saying to myself, like, oh, I'll 10 years from now we'll sit and we'll laugh about it and we'll talk about it. And so for him to be gone now, it was kind of a realisation that you can't wait 10 years. Don't waste time thinking that you should wait till some other day to make something right. Do it the day, and always be grateful for who you have around you, because he's 23 years old, lived a full happy life, but it's muscular dystrophy Duchenne's is a horrible condition to have, and more people need to know about it. And I know people are going to listen to this podcast, so I just really feel like that. I didn't want to go 2 hours and not mention that. So I didn't want to get so emotional there. It was a difficult thing to talk about, and rest in peace to Ben, man. He was a great guy, and I hope he's enjoyed coming on. It was a pleasure to have you.
I loved it, mate.
He's welcome back any time. That flew by, man.
We'll do it again.
Thank you very much.
I shall be here next week.
Right.